But James, how you doing?
Oh man, I'm blessed. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I think the last time we actually chatted was actually on Clubhouse, or was in the same room. It was on Clubhouse, um, and
Strong
but
possibility.
that's how each other in person. Wow, I can't remember.
Yeah, a lot of years. A lot of years. Probably probably 10 to 12 years easily.
Yeah, I feel like it was Austin at South by, maybe. Not sure. Not sure.
Oh man, I don't even play that game anymore. I can't remember where I meet people, what city. I, I live in so many places, but yeah, you've always been just someone that I admire. And early in the days of social media, you were one of the few Black folks who were really pushing the envelope, and always appreciated that. And I really appreciate the invitation today to talk.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks. Thanks. I think Joselin is joining us, accepted and connected. Um,
Okay.
but where are you at now? Are you in Atlanta or?
No. I moved to Los Angeles about 5 years ago. I live on the coast in between Malibu and Santa Monica, and yeah, I've been sort of at the intersection of venture capital and culture and brand. And was running a venture studio when I first moved here with my then partner Troy Carter, and he went off to Spotify, and I kind of took the business and have been doing that ever since. Making little investments, but really building outstanding brands and creating culture through content and community. We have a community I built called The Authenticated. Built it about 4 years ago, and we're about 350 to 400 founders and creators, and former athletes, and a princess and a rapper. And, it kind of reflects my career. We're as much Atlanta as we are Abu Dhabi, as much Oakland as we are Jerusalem, and kind of in between that is a group of folks we think are changing the world. And during the pandemic, got really clear on places and spaces to create content. So very, very excited.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I remember that time when you was working with Troy and then moved to LA. I forgot about all that. So let's try one more time to bring on fellow panelists.
Yeah, and I'll probably have like a hard stop. So I got to run to a meeting, but happy to jump in and
get my team to work with that. And then while we jump right in, so I feel like been in Clubhouse since day one. We're talking about audio rooms and how do you feel like Clubhouse has changed? Or let me start. Let me post that question later. How do you feel like your life has been impacted with audio rooms and with Clubhouse, and how you use it on a daily or basis?
Yeah, I mean, I've been building community since '98, the beginning of the internet, and so it certainly gave me an opportunity during the pandemic to center my community, center Authenticated, bring them into I was in there early. I was brought in by Andreessen and Nate Jones and those guys early to experiment. So how has it changed my life? It was really my LAX. It was really my Delta Sky Lounge during the pandemic. It provided a place in which we could have really honest conversations about things like George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, and then for me, it also gave me an opportunity to really share some of my thoughts about what I think is wrong in business, what I think is wrong in venture capital, what I think is wrong in startup culture. It gave me a real honest place to kind of share that. I think Clubhouse doesn't become valued at $4 billion on the backs of Sand Hill Road white men. It is certainly a place where underrepresented voices like myself got the opportunity to really share how they felt and build other global connectivity. So the first phase of it certainly scratched that itch. The second phase of it was was really about me. I kind of had a rich network in UAE and Europe and South America. So I got really intentional. Once I got to about 1 million followers, I'm about 2.4 million now. Once I got to about 1 million followers, I was like, okay, how do I really treat this as my global connectivity? So I started getting really intentional about producing rooms that were about the creator economy in Kuwait and Dubai and Stockholm. And so for me, it scratched the other itch, which was, I wasn't traveling, I wasn't flying. Most of my life is planes, trains, and automobiles. So I got to really connect with other folks, either, that I had known before, but, quite frankly, I probably 10x my network in the Middle East. In fact, my next meeting that I got to run to is with a Kuwaiti that I met in Clubhouse. So I think for me, it gave me, while everybody was like, what do we do? It kind of gave me an opportunity to build community. I would say March, April, May, I was doing a lot of this on my own in platforms like this, Crowdcast or Zoom or whereby. I produced about 100 Jeffersonian dinners last year in the pandemic, and I did about 4 summits. And so it just became another extension of that kind of work that I was doing.
Nice. Yeah, no, it was, it most definitely was this space for me when I joined early as well, in terms of like connecting with humans I hadn't talked to in a long while, and connect back channel as well. How do you see, audio rooms going from here? Like in terms of like, you gave a couple examples, but how do you see it like as a tool to like someone who's like adding to the repertoire as growth, or is it just like someone uses it solely? But like, what do you think is going to, audio room place in marketing and in tech and community?
Yeah, so Authenticated Ventures, which is the firm that I run, so we ended up investing in Clubhouse.
Nice.
We believe in the social audio space and believe that it's different than podcasting. We believe it's the first ever form of sort of collaborative media, and we see it as a feature that will be here. Clubhouse will always be known as the first company that brought us social audio. We have a tech stack. We actually have a social audio tech stack. My partner built it for Essence magazine. And so we actually think that social audio is an interesting feature that a lot of companies will begin to use. But the most important part is that I think it provides an opportunity for creators to collaborate together in a way that we've yet to see. I think audio rooms and more importantly, metaverse, which I'm allowed to kind of expand out of just audio rooms. We think that the metaverse and metaversally, there's a lot of things. We see a lot of deals. I play in things like Topia. I play in all kinds of worlds that are beyond Clubhouse. And we think that when you combine all that together, it gives what we believe is a new creator, what we're calling kind of creatorpreneurs, the opportunity to connect and build and create in a way that we've yet to see.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. And I don't want to mess up your name. It's been like maybe 10 years since we chatted. Joselin?
Joselin. So
sorry.
Because it's such an issue, I've come up with an easy way to remember it. So I have to maintain my diet for my name. Otherwise, I'll be Josefat. So Joselin.
Joselin. Yeah, that's connect. It's been maybe.
Where did you come from? Joselin. Are you Brazilian?
My parents are from the Dominican Republic. I was the first born here in the U.S.
Got it. Claro que sí.
Ya tú sabes. Tato, vamos a ver.
You made it. That's Joe. I was asking. I'm gonna just jump right in. Ask the same question as James. Like, Joselin, you big in Twitter Spaces. What do you see Twitter Spaces and audio rooms, role in terms of like working with businesses and companies and community in general?
I think, as was mentioned, this is a really new opportunity for us to connect with the consumer, build relationships as individuals. There isn't any type of getting dressed up for the camera, all those types of things. I've been able to not only go to like Clubhouse, I've been on Twitter Spaces. I go to about 10 spaces a day on there. I've been on a Quilt. Quilt is a much more mental health friendly user-based platform, a social audio platform. I've been in Green Room, that used to be called Locker Room. Also part of the ambassador program for this app called Angle. I've been also in Fireside Chat. So I'm looking at all these different tools to see what the advantages, disadvantages are from a feature set. But fundamentally, they're all the same. We all thirst for that connection. And these tools are kind of enabling us to connect with not only our counterparts, business partners, but brands are able to listen in to see what's valuable. Because prior to this, especially on Twitter, the text is a very difficult form to communicate in, and to be able to quickly just express your point of view in a couple sentences or like 5 to 10 seconds prevents the back and forth tweets and all that kind of foolishness that generally tends to be associated with social media. So from that perspective, I think it's helping in the mental health side of things.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. I'm curious, like, do you use audio rooms yourself? I think you alluded to it, both of you alluded to it, like itself as a form of therapy. Like, if so, how so? Like, I feel like I feel like we can use it as community, of course, but you use it as a form of therapy. And then have you seen a lot of other organizations like launch therapy sessions, type in audio rooms and Clubhouse or Spaces?
Yeah, well, so we take a very editorial, curatorial approach. So we actually have shows. I'm not just like jumping into a room. I generally think about it, almost like an editor-in-chief. So we have a number of shows that we've created. And the areas in which I like to play in with my community, with the authenticated, are kind of know thyself areas. So we've covered everything from Kairos. The Greeks used to measure time two ways. One is Chronos. The other is Kairos. So we've looked at like how we think about time. We do a show about sex and sexual wellness called Comma Nights. On Sunday, we kind of explore sexual wellness through the lens of a co-founder, a founder of an app called Comma that we're advising. They raised 3.2 in a very difficult space, which is sexual wellness. And so we wanted to give this founder an opportunity to talk about the research that she's done in the area of pleasure and sexual wellness. It's kind of like a calm or a headspace for masturbation. So we talk a lot about sexual wellness, and again, another area in which people, feel taboo around. I think we also partnered. I got to know Kenneth Cole really well in Clubhouse, and we used the month of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, to partner with Kenneth. And Kenneth and I did every Monday in the month of May, unpacking things like, who is your one, who's the one person you talk to when you're going through issues. And we had his brother-in-law, Chris Cuomo, on there. We talked about creator mental health. We talked about, people of color and Black folk. We did a lot of things that were specifically focused around mental health. I think obviously, the answer to that question is, for me, it's been, I'm also a caretaker, someone in my family with, schizophrenia. It's been a great place to talk in private rooms with people who are also going through this similar situation, to be able to connect with organizations like NAMI on Clubhouse has been fantastic. From a personal perspective, I think one of the things I kind of practice from a mental health perspective, honestly, is taking a break from Clubhouse. I was pretty active on Clubhouse, but my daily practice is actually taking a step back and creating boundaries. And so while I love being able to create community and create connections, my mental wellness and being able to have time to meditate or dive into some of the things I think are really important is actually the greatest form of therapy. So while connections, which has never been a problem for me in my career, and having relationships, I actually think the greatest form of showing of mental health is actually not doing rooms that are 4 hours, not being on there every day. I actually really practice by getting in nature, and but I love the fact that I know that when I want to fire up my network and when I want to love on people, when I'm feeling really down, if I want to like serve my community and use that as a form of mental health, I just know that I can, fire up a room, and with 2.4 million followers, I can have, 1,000 people and just get on there and talk about things that I think people really want to talk about. And for me, that brings me a lot of gratitude and a lot of love to be able to do that.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, James.
And yeah, I'm the same way. I've been mostly focusing on Monetize Monday, which helps creators really create a sustainable income source and business plans around it, because I found that creators were challenged by the constant creating of content and being sometimes even used by platforms where they're cultivating and developing a community. And I wanted to provide access to a variety of different resources that allows people to monetize their brand immediately. So I run Monetize Monday, 3 to 5 on Twitter Spaces every week. I record it and I share it. I get the opportunity to talk to like Isaac Hayes' son, who has Fanbase, which is another social app that has some social audio components to it that allows creators to monetize immediately. I've talked to the founders of influencer.co, Jeremiah Owang, who's speaking, that you're going to speak to as part of this conference. So that was an opportunity because I was listening to the audience to figure out what was missing. And I was able to monetize really quickly on Twitter Spaces, and I found that other creators weren't. So I wanted to create an avenue for those individuals that wanted to do that. I recorded it. It's all online. It's for free. I'm demonstrating how to monetize from that perspective. And the other space that I host is mostly around the new features and functions. When the new app, a new version of the Twitter app comes out, I highlight what the new features are on Twitter Spaces. I have a good relationship with the development team. I used to actually co-host an event on Fridays called Bugging Out that was just solving bugs for Twitter Spaces that I hosted with one of the developers. Now I am, as soon as the Twitter app comes out, the new version, which is generally tonight or tomorrow, I'll host a space highlighting all the features and then provide the community with ways to use it from a creator standpoint. I do agree that the best form of therapy is to check out. So generally on a Thursday or Friday, I tend to lessen my participation on Twitter Spaces and all the social apps, completely disconnect, check in every now and then because it is Twitter, but try not to be on Spaces because it is draining. I'm an introvert, and this conversation it drains me in a good way because I love giving feedback, but then I have to go and get on Netflix or Amazon Prime, watch some movies and disconnect and go into another world. That's kind of like the way I balance it out.
Yeah, I feel you both.
I want to just add, it's interesting. My biggest therapy, I was just thinking about therapy and even that word, is I was always like, I was a big executive in the record business in the 90s. And so no one ever knew me as a DJ, but I DJed for the last decade. I used to speak at social media conferences and force them to hire me as a DJ. But my biggest therapy, I've got to say, is actually just this newfound career I found as a DJ, which started in Clubhouse. And I literally, for me, I don't really want to talk about business or venture capital or creator economy. I just spin records for 3-4 hours, and I developed this, this sort of relationship with my following. And it's been, I got to tell you, just being able to spin records and travel musically, has been pretty incredible. I actually just DJ'd George Clinton's 80th birthday party last week. So it's actually, I'm starting to do it in IRL as well. Just to have a place to spin records, for me, I got to say, many nights of, going through a lot in this pandemic with my family and just some other personal things, the ability to play music in front of, 15,000 people has just been incredible.
That's awesome. I feel you. Yeah. I've seen a couple other people. I think Nate Jones also does DJing as well. A couple of people does DJing, but
not like me though. You don't do shit like me. They don't do it like me.
They do like
you ain't DJ Rich Cacao. Yeah, DJ Rich Cacao. You got a whole. I'm going Hector Lavoe into 90s hip hop. No. Ain't nobody spinning on that.
Yeah,
I'm the biggest DJ on Clubhouse.
Nice. I was both Melinda and I was in Clubhouse early back in May of last year, but then my I was doing something else with my career at the time, and was also noticing my mental health was not there, and so I had to check out and take a break. And but for those who know, we also ride motorcycles, so that's kind of like my thing. It's like I got to get out in nature, get on two wheels, and yeah, that's my thing. But I want to ask a couple more questions to wrap up. I got also see from the chat, but one is more lighthearted. Any like, well, James, you alluded to one like with um, DJing for George Clinton, but like any surprise encounters or moments you had in audio rooms, and you was like, "Whoa, this is different. This is major, good or bad." It's like, "Wow, this is audio rooms is here to stay." And it's like it's gonna be part of my toolkit. You remember there was that aha moment or like any exciting things happening there?
I mean, I don't know. I just meeting people, having these like private rooms, focusing on things like the Gulf, and actually I just went to Barcelona and met with some folks from the Gulf, some Royals that I met in Clubhouse. So I think like being in Barcelona, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like I met you in Clubhouse, and now I'm like in Barcelona, like having a real life meeting. I think that's been really fascinating. Just like the types of connections that I've been able to make, and then actually, in this phase one of hybrid season, I call it, because I believe we're going into phase two of hybrid season, where again the work that Joselin is doing, and obviously Clubhouse, it'll even be that much more important. But it's been an interesting June through September, which I call phase one of the hybrid. It's just been fascinating, the types of people that I've met in there. But yeah, just some moments of transparency, of honesty, of like people that we have a show called The Originals where we interview OGs who are incredible. We had George Clinton as our first guest, and Gamble and Huff, and Sheila E. and a bunch of people. Just like the level of transparency that these individuals that you probably know. And the things they've been able to share. And then the other thing is like the people who are in the room. So what I love about places like Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse is like, I don't know, I'm having a conversation with, Gamble and Huff, who produce so many important records in soul music. And then Just Blaze jumps in, and then Jazzy Jeff jumps in, and like we jump in, and now we're like, it's not just like a typical interview. We're like, we're really breaking down that drum or that sample or that thing. And I think that kind of like on the spot innovation or on the spot like editorial has been pretty essential and pretty amazing. It wouldn't happen in a podcast. It wouldn't happen in a Twitter chat. It really only happens in the collaborative, new medium known as social audio.
Yeah, I would agree. It's really the spontaneity of who's gonna walk on by in this digital hallway of individuals, right? Because we were limited by the physical location, but to have in his particular case like Jazzy Jeff and Just Blaze walking around in the same street, what's the likelihood of that happening? But in a digital space, in a digital forum like that, where we started to see that when D Nice started to DJ on Instagram, just once you start the momentum of a space in a room and an audio kind of venue, then it kind of gets shared and say, hey, do you know who's here? And people start promoting it, and just people start showing up from all over the place. And we saw like MC Hammer is always on social audio talking and developing his brand. And there's all kind of actors that come in and out. And I know it helps normalize the individuals that you would normally just see on television or playing sports, or Kevin Durant on Twitter Spaces and all these other folks. So it's that type of like casual nature of the connection, which I think it kind of is inspiring to a certain degree, because it's like it kind of should have always been like this, right? Because from the celebrity standpoint, they're not giving away their credentials, but they're participating in a conversation that's like authentic and genuine and things of that nature. You get to make that connection, and that translates into IRL. Like, James was talking about, just, oh, wow, we connected there. I remember when Hammer was here at Harvard at the Gravity Summit, we connected there, and then we reconnected here on, Twitter Spaces or whatever the case might be. It's just, it becomes that much more compelling. And I think at the beginning of the social audio journey for me, because of the pandemic, I'm like, damn, I needed some place where I could communicate with people, but I didn't want to do these Zoom things. And that's when I just discovered Twitter Spaces, and it opened up that void that I had of being able to connect with James, with you again, and all these fantastic people, not only in my kind of local area or my circle of influence, but primarily outside of my circle of influence, all over the world. I have people from various countries in Africa, from Ireland, from Australia, from Canada. So it just opens up the world and flattens it out just because of this technology, which is very basic. It's on the phone. That's not heavyweight. You could do it while you're walking in between meetings or whatever the case might be, whether you're listening, participating. It's all just so much easier than it was before. The barrier to entry to kind of, if you have that voice, has been reduced substantially, especially for people of color or people that have been disenfranchised or didn't feel like they had the voice because they didn't have the following on Twitter. Now you can go in, meet up with James. He'll connect with you, possibly hype you up. I'll do the same. And, it's not that much. If you have something of substance, I think that barrier of entry has been substantially reduced because of this new arena of social audio.
Awesome. Great feedback, thoughts from both of you. I agree. One, jump in the last question. And I think this, I'll just jump to the last question from Timothy. Is there any recommendations of good, healthy audio rooms, Twitter Spaces, green room folks who join? And also just how to connect with both you on the audio rooms.
So on Twitter Spaces.
What was the question?
Okay,
go ahead.
I feel like,
go ahead. I didn't understand the question.
Any recommendations for good, healthy audio rooms? Folks can join. Basically, I think it's how to find good audio rooms.
Yeah.
You go ahead, James.
No, go ahead.
Oh, for Twitter Spaces, there's quite a variety of them. There's various ones every day. Healthy, if it's like mental health, there are people that do early morning sessions that are nice around the 10 o'clock time frame. I put my Twitter handle there if I'm able to share it. I'm always looking at what's happening, and I'll share the kind of the must go to Twitter Spaces. I know in Green Room, I go there, and there's a woman called Lily, don't know her last name. She does a meditation on Green Room in like 7 a.m. I know the application Quilt is primarily dedicated to more mental health based types of discussions where people are openly discussing like suicide and how to prevent it and all those types of things. That's a little bit more of an intimate environment for social audio. So those are some things that just come to mind from my side of things. Like I said, if you connect with me on Twitter, then I could be more specific because there's always things like popping up on a regular basis. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful.
Selfishly, I think at the Authenticated, we're doing some great stuff. We're an Alexandria Library of Interest. So we covered everything from, investing in agriculture to, sex and masturbation. So it's definitely never a dull moment. Certainly love the work that, Ian Davis is doing with meditations. Same thing as Joselin. Like I put my text number in there. You can text me. I can, answer more specifically that question. But yeah, I think there's, we created this thing called the Audio Collective within Clubhouse with 44 other creators. So we certainly have, a really good group of folks. We're actually now building a creator economy platform. We're doing a Republic crowdfund around. We're going to raise about $3 million to actually support, creator and the creator economy. Social audio is a part of that, of course. But we're investing in creatorpreneurs, and so happy to tell you some of the folks that we think are interesting. think we're doing interesting things, and folks that we're betting on, and that we've invested in, who we think are doing interesting things. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff if you want to find. I think I can't wait to go hang out with you, Joselin, in Twitter Spaces. I've yet to use Twitter Spaces as much as I've used Clubhouse. I actually haven't really used Twitter Spaces nor Spotify's Green Room. I have been meeting with and talking to Fireside and kind of think there's some interesting stuff happening there. But yeah, would love to come see what you're doing in Twitter Spaces. It's I haven't found any. I have the same question that they're asking of you, like, who do I follow in Twitter Spaces? Because I don't really spend a lot of time there. But
so here's the win-win. Because you're creating something for the creator economy, which fits the Monetize Monday kind of format, you're more than welcome to join me. I could interview you, highlight what you're doing with your creative economy kind of solution on a Monetize Monday, 3 to 5, if it fits your schedule, Eastern Standard Time. And it's all recorded. We could bring your Clubhouse folks to Twitter Spaces. Then we could take a digital field trip over to one of your clubhouses, so we could exchange networks. I've been doing a lot of virtual field trips, doing a lot of onboarding. So once I interviewed Isaac Hayes III, we got a bunch of people over to Fanbase, and we onboarded a bunch of people. I did the same thing over at Habs because I stream my Monetize Monday on 5 platforms now. So it goes on Twitter, Facebook. I got YouTube channels. So it's all streamed. By the time it's over, it's all recorded. And I'm teaching people how I'm monetizing it so that they learn the same process. So I would love to have you to promote what you're doing. I think that will be a good opportunity for us to create a win-win situation.
Yalla. Okay, that sounds good, man. You got my info. Let's definitely connect. That's great. Wayne, thank you so much I had to jump actually. Thank you so much for having this. This is great work. And I support anything that supports what I think is the third pandemic, which is mental health. I think we don't talk about it enough. I think we're quietly going through a mental health crisis in this country. I think people of color have traditionally been shut out from resources and the conversation around mental health. It is not something that I play lightly with. I'm currently in the middle of a crisis with my family right now around mental health. So I really appreciate you holding space to do this. It means a lot. And thank you for all you do in the world of digital and technology. You're doing it for a long time. So really appreciate it.
Thanks, James. Thanks for being here, and I appreciate you as well. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day and time. All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Well, thank you very much. I definitely concur with what James was saying. This was phenomenal. We haven't connected in such a long time since you were in Boston. I don't know if we were at South by the last time we saw each other. I don't know what the vibes were. I think it was before your motorcycle ventures, by the way. So I caught you before that. Yeah, it's very funny. I don't know if you remember when we were speaking. I think it was over at HubSpot. And someone said, "Are you famous?" It's like, I guess so. Good times.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. Keep doing your Twitter Spaces, and I'll see you online. And thank you for being here today.
All right. Have a fantastic day, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Take it.